settlement patterns produce several ways to live that balance space and socialization. This spectrum may range from vast pastoral individualism, the cut-and-paste suburban neighborhood block, to the major city. A city is designed the way it is based on precedents set by a ruling class that, like many other parts of the world, skews white, straight, cis, male. Culture evolves while such precedents become the unquestioned norm. When the social system fails to account for a community's needs, they are led to self-moderation.
Our investigation of queer spaces led us to Boys Town, Chicago, the first nationally recognized gay neighborhood in America. The foundation of this territory is queer identity, an identity that hadn't been fully decriminalized in Illinois until 1984. Queerness takes many forms, both theoretically and physically. How does identity manifest in the branding of an urban space? Is a queer neighborhood really that different than a straight one?
Chicago, 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 Chicago.
You going up? You want to go down his shoulder?
Véngase un poco más acá abajo para que mamá se siente.
¿Podría hacer eso, Panchito? Panchito es bailarín.
Desde aquí los estoy viendo, estoy haciendo seguimiento.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. How far was it going to see? I might see.
My sister ran the coffee shop.
Cultural leaders, a legacy unfulfilled. Queerness in fine print.
See, now I feel Nicholas. I'll take a picture. I'm going to
Yeah, okay, I have a few thoughts on this from a few different angles. My first thought on it is, sure, as a name, in a vacuum, it could be more inclusive because it's Boys Town. And I'm all about changing things in history that need to be changed. Like, of course, like we should not be digging our heels into something just because it's tradition. Not, of course not. And part of my brain goes, for all the problems we have in Chicago, for all of the gun violence, all of the racism, and all of the crumbling infrastructure and economic inequality, is this really where we're going to focus our efforts in changing this name?
It was very edgy. It still felt dangerous. The community was not all gentrified and cute the way it is now. When Sidetrack first opened, there was no name on the building and all the windows were painted black. And someone had spray painted Fag Bar on the door, and they left it there. The owners left it there. But I'm just, I don't mean to, it's just, I deal with this on our tours all the time. Halstead is the noisiest street in Chicago.
I can tell, yeah.
And that's why I have a 1,000-watt PA system I travel with. Anyway, so I did not design the pylons, just so you understand. We added the plaques to the pylons. That was our role in it. The pylons were actually installed in 1998, and that was an idea actually of Mayor Daley's at the time, and they were designed ultimately by a committee, which is basically the reason why they look the way that they do. They went through several design processes. As they say, a camel is a horse designed by a committee. That is pretty much what these ended up being. So they turned into, inadvertently, these extremely phallic looking rocket ship things. And many people objected to it, and it was a controversy when it first happened, because this neighborhood at that time had a very large gay population living in it, and the gay homeowners did not want this neighborhood identified as being gay.
Why do you think that is?
They were afraid it would hurt their property values. Of course, property values went up 40% within 2 years, so that criticism died down rather quickly. And the idea is that we're not really teaching about the history of gay people. That would be a much tougher sell in a lot of ways, though I think it should be taught. That goes without saying. We haven't gotten around to doing that. Our idea for integrating into curriculum was to look at what was already being taught and give them narratives of all the LGBTQ people who were part of that, who had been written out of history. You know, Jane Addams didn't identify as a lesbian, per se. Nobody really used those terms. You know, all these people here lived in a time when they never ever thought it would be possible for there to be a bronze plaque commemorating their life that actually told the truth about them. And this is quite literally the only place in the world where you can come and see the words gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and queer, and non-binary cast in bronze. It's basically a very sort of queer-centric neighborhood. Even though there's a lot of straight people here, they don't seem to mind. If anything, they like it.
Do you live in North Halstead?
I do not.
You do not? Where do you live?
I live in Logan Square right now, but I did used to live over on Cornelia and Broadway.
So what are you doing here today?
I just went to the gym, about to go home, and then get some happy hour with some friends.
Do you identify as queer at all?
I do not, no.
Do you usually run through here?
Sometimes, yeah.
Do you think it's a nice place to be? Do you like this area?
I feel fairly safe around here, yeah.
Live in Uptown.
Okay, nice. Do you identify as queer?
As a gay man, that's it.
Do you live in North Halstead?
I live right there.
Okay, awesome. How do you like living here?
It is incredible.
Do you identify as queer in any way?
Yes.
Is Pride something that you guys are interested in? Did you attend yesterday? Is it like a place that you feel comfortable and happy?
We did not attend, but I mean, I totally support Pride. I'm an ally.
Are you interested in the Pride celebrations that happen over here at all?
I didn't attend this weekend. This is the first time I didn't attend, but I usually attend.
Do you identify as queer?
I identify as non-binary. Ugly. Yeah, ugly.
Nice. Okay. All right. What do you think about the Pride stuff that goes on over here?
I
though?
think it's nice. I think it's awesome.
Nice? Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Awesome.
Everybody getting together and celebrating Pride.
Yeah. I think Boys Town is very showy in a lot of ways. I don't know if necessarily those are all the spots where, you know, the Chicago queers are really hanging out. But it's definitely nice to have a presence. It felt different then to be going to pride parades than it feels for me as a 24-year-old adult who's trying not to be misgendered at work and trying to figure out how I can get gender-affirming surgery, right? Like, sure, rainbows are good, but also, like, trans kids are dying. And so I do find it very frustrating in regard to priorities. Then part of me is also like, oh my God, like, being trans is exhausting a lot of the time. Right? Like, I should get to be half naked in the street dancing and having the time of my life. I deserve a fucking celebration too. I just think about who's throwing it, for whose benefit, for what purpose, you know, who is really being supported. Are queer people better off after this?
But it's also like
Is it family or friends? So no kids. So yeah, just the gays. Okay. All right. You're an ally, right? Okay. Thank you for that short story about your life. My daughter's at home with her wife. She should be here watching you do what you're about to do. Let's make some noise for Kim! Come on, Kim!
Because I was part of the old guard ACT UP AIDS activist community. We despised Mayor Daley. And his transformation into one of the most progressive mayors in the city was, I personally believe, a direct result of the gay community. Because no matter what bones he did throw at us, it wasn't enough. We still protested him, and he did not understand why. And I think from a political standpoint, what I think it honestly came down to was the gay community had come into its own. We were now an established political reality, so entrenched on the liberal lakefront that it was actually impossible for any white person to be elected mayor of Chicago without the support of the gay community.
When I was over there the last time, before we were on vacation, I said, guys, I'm not going to be able to come here.
Hi, we're doing a short film about being queer in Chicago. Could I ask you for questions? No? Okay, fine. All right, who wants to come talk to me? Who wants to talk to me about being queer in Chicago? Who wants to talk about being queer in Chicago? Anybody? Do you think Chicago is queer enough?
No.
No, it needs to be way queerer.
It's a lot of the queer representation that is here is predominantly white. I think Chicago has a very big queer scene in one particular area, but I think as a whole there's a lot more growth that needs to be done on the whole platform of Chicago.
Outside of Boys Town, no.
Outside of Boys Town, no?
I would say no.
I think any place that's queer could be more queer. I agree with that, yes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yes, we're from Nebraska, so
Oh,
there's no
really?
queerness out there.
Okay, how long have you been in Chicago?
About 2 years.
I mostly think it's just another reason to get drunk during the daytime.
Very true.
I think Pride started as a riot, and I'm okay with it going back to that.
I think everywhere should be a little bit more like Boys Town. You know what I mean? Like, I get we have our area, but like,
have the rainbow roads.
Where do you feel the most uncomfortable in Chicago? If you do.
Here.
Happy Pride! I love you all!
I feel like Chicago just needs to understand love, in all honesty. Because at the end of the day, we all just want to feel loved.
Very true. Is there anywhere you feel uncomfortable in Chicago?
Late at night alone in the dark, honestly, but...
Anywhere? Anywhere? Just in general?
Sometimes in downtown. It's hard because when I'm dressed up as queer as I want to be, it can be scary for some people, but people don't realize when they're scared, I get scared too.
everywhere, but especially downtown.
Yeah, downtown for sure.
Like anywhere where there's a large amount of congregating of straight people, it's just like, bro, come on, I want dick.
I haven't yet, not really, no.
Okay, interesting.
But I feel like I don't present very much as visibly queer, so I feel like that also helps. Yeah.
In Chicago, I feel like sometimes it's a little bit different. Certain places you go, we only go to Boys Town.
Lincoln Park.
Why?
Park. It's where we go to school, and even if I walk down the street like this, or if I walk down the street in regular attire, I get so many looks, I get harassed, I get questions.
No, because I don't give a fuck. Yeah, I don't give a fuck at all.
So on the flip side, what's a place maybe you feel really uncomfortable in Chicago? Like where's somewhere that you're ever and you're like, oh my god, I don't belong here?
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely Boys Town.
Really?
I just have no business over there. None of my friends hang out over there. And also there's like the only Pride events that like happen are in the north side. and which is not accessible to majority of like queer youth in Chicago.
Right.
We need sober spaces for queer youth. We need spaces that are free for queer youth, and also like put together by queer youth as well, like queer youth for like by queer youth for queer youth.
We have to make a difference. You can make a difference. We need you to do it now.
Yeah, this woman is the executive director of Pride Action Tank. She's been an LGBT advocate for over 20 years and is doing so much in the community. Y'all give it up for Kim Hunt! Thank you! Oh my God!
These mofos are coming after us, y'all. And it's gonna take our collective energy to fight against this rising tide of hate. They are coming after trans youth with more anti-trans legislation than ever before. And they tell us that that's part of love. Roe v. Wade and other reproductive justice issues, yeah, disappearing before our very eyes, and they tell us that it's love. We have LGBTQ older adults who think they have to go back into the closet just to get housing, and they say that's love. They want to deny that we could ever really exist, but look around you.
I love a pina colada, like, without alcohol. We could have gotten one of those.
Our resilience
like a
over
long time
and
ago.
over again.
In Fairfield. I do be following you on Twitter.
Now you gotta remember.
So there's so many cops everywhere. There's so many cops everywhere in the north side, like period. Like even not like during like Pride. And you know, as much as it's like, oh, it's like a gay safe space, there's cops everywhere.
Like all of these events have historically been over-policed, and that's what the community is trying to reduce.
We were still afraid of the police. The police were still shutting down bars, and there was a lot of animosity. But now we live at a time where, you know, up north next to Center on Halsted is Center on Addison, which is the gay senior residence, which is managed by the Heartland Alliance. And the police station that used to be on the corner, that brick building, is now the gay senior community center.
Oh my God! How are you? I am hot Bob, as always.
I just want my pussy, eh? Don't want no car, don't want no cash, don't want no day. I just want my pussy. If you want your pussy, then make some noise.
Queer people have been sexualized for years, and like that's when people think of like gay culture, it's like, I don't know, naked men or whatever, right?
I mean, I never had problem getting dick.
Or just like that, like kink, like that whole like, you know, genre of like sexuality or whatever. But I also think like there is a time and place sometimes, and if we want to like invite young people to those spaces, we also have to be mindful of what young people are exposed to. Yeah, I feel like there should be a lot more like intention with like community agreements, and like what does like also like have people who are ready to like de-escalate in a way that's like productive and like not policing, and also a way for like young people to
This will always be the business and cultural center of the queer community in Chicago.
I mean, it's really like racist, where it's like, oh, where they're like, these are low-income communities and people are homophobic, but it's like there isn't like a chance to learn either, and to create that like safe space where like everyone is genuinely welcome.
Most of the real estate is owned by gay people. It gives them not only the power, but they are invested in the street. That's why the center on Halsted is here and not in Andersonville or someplace else.
Do you think the South Side is devoid of like a queer hub?
There are like small ones, but I think like overall, like when other people think of like where is like the queer scene in Chicago, a lot of them just like navigate to the North Side, which is like unfair for the queer people who are actually doing shit in the South Side.
Yes, I think in the beginning it was queer people making those decisions, but they weren't exactly queer. They were old white gay men, which is a lot different than being queer. I don't know if there is a solution to gentrification so long as we live in a system that is made up of a series of systems that are all predicated upon market. So long, and the gay community is a market just like any other community is a market. We didn't used to be, but we are now. And that's what concerns me, is that whether it's healthcare or education, everything is driven by market sustainability. And that's where the lack of equity is kind of grounded into the system.
And that's the most infuriating part, right? Like redistribution is so possible when we live in a community of excess in almost every capacity, right? It's a distribution issue. Like I said in the beginning of the interview, I do food security policy work. Like this is not a production issue. It's solely a distribution issue in this country. And that's what pisses me off more than anything. Corporations have the ability to put the spotlight on other people, and that would look good for them. It would look good for them. So companies should also think about what PR, who they're tending to. The problem is that it's mostly the majority cis straight population who want to feel like they've done their part, right? I think having the support of the queer community say, wow, that was well done, would go a lot further, but.
What I do think will help is when we bring artificial intelligence into the streetscape, so that the pylons will talk to people and people will be able to ask the pylon to do things. That I think will make it a much more attractive experience for young people, and well, for everybody. I mean, it's going to be kind of a kick to do it. It'll be the only outdoor talking museum in the country.
Right, add another qualifier to it.
Yeah. So, but that's going to be big bucks. That's why we're hoping to, we've been in conversations with Amazon, and we're going to be going into conversation with Microsoft. It's one of those things you just take the good with the bad,
Legs and hips and body. Let's see it, baby. Let's get 'em, girls. Body. I know how to keep my style and I know what to give. Come on, Betty, come, Betty. Legs and hips and body.
When you look for your community, what do you see?
If you look at the history of the bars from over the course of the decades, you'll see that they just kept leapfrogging. What happened when it got up here to Halsted Street was they went any further on Clark Street, they'd have to go right past Wrigley Field, which was considered to be a dangerous territory for gay people because it was full of straight people going to the Cubs games.
I know that I, as a queer person, besides right now I'm wearing a Cubs shirt, but whatever, you know, like most of the time I dress to almost signal that I'm a safe person to other queer people, right? And then that was one of my biggest fears for coming to Chicago, was just feeling like people were staring at me and being really anxious about that. And especially Wrigleyville is a very different vibe than Boys Town.
Go on Google Maps and you look up Belmont Rocks, it points to over here. And originally, the AIDS garden was supposed to be like next to it, but then they were like, we actually moved it like a block down the road from the original spot that it really is. No, the sculpture's been around for a long time.
Oh.
The AIDS garden isn't.
That was new.
Yeah, but the sculpture used to be over there.
What is considered the AIDS garden? Do we
That.
see? Okay.
That, like, the
I'm surprised
round
there were less
patch of grass.
memorials, but
Yeah, it was.
it's
That's
kind
the thing.
of
It was so dismal. There was nothing really there. It was like dead plants, a few flowers.
Yeah.
Those really pretty flowers in the beginning. It's well designed, but there's no like obvious work put into it. It's a public project too. It's hard with public things.
That is interesting. They erected the monument, but there's no maintenance.
Yeah. But people gave it meaning. They put rocks of people's names there. You know what I mean? Like there were people who died of AIDS, and they put their name in front of the sculpture.
Yeah.
So like that gave it more meaning than the plants really do.
And there was like only that one plaque that said scan this QR code.
Yeah, and yeah. I mean, I think that is a cool thing. I wanted to record that. Obviously, that's like accessibility, and we could scan it when we're leaving and read about it.
But it's also very easy to miss.
It is really easy to miss. And yeah, I wish there were just plaques to read.
Community happened along this undesirable strip of uneven limestone blocks. Relationships and friendships happened there, as well as hookups, unions, memorials, picnics, cookouts, dance parties, and rallies. Artwork covered many of these stones. At the rocks, people lay in the sun, watched the sunset before going out, and sat to watch the sun rise after the bars closed. In 2003, the Belmont Rocks were bulldozed and removed as part of a revetment project to safeguard against shoreline erosion. The rocks themselves may be gone, but this portion of the Chicago shoreline will forever remain a place of celebration, joy, and remembrance in the pre-AIDS era and throughout the darkest days of the epidemic.
Are you gay? What are you doing here? What's really gay?
Order now and have it shipped directly to your door. House of Love.
Please welcome Pangina here.
Oh my goodness. We were saying you should not watch a disaster movie on an airplane. And I agree with that. I think that don't freak yourself out.
That is great life advice.
You're already going to Roscoe's. Don't scare yourself.
Oh, shit. Well, I want to remind each and every one of you that we obviously are highly drinking tonight. So grab a cocktail. We're sponsored by House of Love. So grab one of those. Food and drinks. And are you guys ready to watch this episode of All Stars?
is like digging deep into like my insecurities.
Awesome, it's called
I would do my nose.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I would do. Yes.
Macho man.
She's trying to read. You see, she keeps trying to read.
I'm having a good time with you. I love you.
I love you. I love you so much.
Okay,
what would you have
our
done?
guests. We have guests here tonight.
Yeah, my eyebrows are
What
like my
haven't you had
boy
done?
eyebrows are on different levels, so I would like pull the right one up to match the other one. That's all I would do. Just so that I don't look confused all the time. Because like when I'm a boy, I'm always like, I'm like, let's fix that. That's what I would do. But I would leave your nose the fuck alone because it is what absolutely fucking beautiful. Okay.
Thank you, Cracker. Thank you.
What about you?
Yeah. What would I have done next?
Yes.
Last week I got a lip injection before I come here, and then I showed them a photo of bag of chips, and I said, not that much.
You're like between here and Naomi.
I live. Sorry, my English is not great. I don't know, I've had a lot of plastic surgery done. I got my eyebrows tattooed. I got my, what do you mean, wow? I got a nose job. I've got threading. I've got Botox. I've got Ultra 3 times, actually 4 times. Over time, your skin sags because of alcohol or sugar or whatever.
Can I have a picture of me?
And when it sags, the inside layer of your skin, whatever you do with Botox or whatever, is on the outer layer of your skin. And imagine like a rotisserie chicken that is dried up because of the heat. So this is what it does to your skin on the inside, and it shrinks up your skin, and it makes you 5 years younger within 1 hour with no repercussions. Like I went out drinking afterwards, it was fine, but it was so painful.
It's my heart for you, so I was just wondering, as a young gay person, what is some advice you'd give for us to find ourselves in the community?
Oh, really good question. What is some advice I would give to find yourself in the community? I would give yourself permission to not find yourself. And by that I mean, like, let yourself be whoever you are day by day. Because the worst decisions I've ever made is when I decided who I am, and then I was wrong. But I'm very grateful that I have drag, because drag allows me to feel good sometimes, and I hope that drag will teach me that it's your confidence that matters and not your bone structure that matters.
Standing at the corner of Roscoe and Halstead, at the epicenter of Boys Town, Roscoe's earned the reputation over the last 25 plus years. The inside is dank. The dim light comes mostly from the floor to ceiling front windows. Unremarkable now, but brash when they opened. Roscoe's was first in the neighborhood to uncover their windows, when showing faces was an act of defiance. To prevent discovery, most gay bars when Boys Town developed had covered or tinted windows.
Boys Town's queer sensibility and the lessons of sex communities fade away as new customers go on safari into queer spaces, transforming them with their tourist gaze into normal areas. To stay gay, Boys Town becomes less queer.
Everyone comes from a straight family, coming to a place like Boys Town in adulthood. Everyone has to learn the script. This is how people get introduced to gay culture. You head out nervous into the night, perhaps with a few friends if you're lucky, and hope to meet other gay men who can show you how it's done. They introduce you to your community, to spaces filled with expectations that instill within you a gay habitus.
I've always told people, like, always trying to lament the death of the Gayborhood and the assimilation of the gay community, and being gay is mainstream. Being queer is always going to make you different. I don't care how accepting the world is, you are always going to look at the world differently.
People are resilient, queer people are resilient, and they manage to celebrate life in a multitude of brilliant, beautiful ways.
We really create spaces for us because we don't find them anywhere else.